The stars above Keeler Prime shimmered like cold embers, thousands of vessels drifting in disciplined formation. On the command dais of the Galactic Council cruiser Viactel, High Marshal Sarex Viacor watched the holographic feed with a faint curl of boredom on his lip. Another conquered colony. Another compliant species. Another reminder, he mused, that the galaxy always bent to strength. Around him, bridge officers moved with rehearsed precision, but even their voices carried the dull tone of routine. "This human envoy has arrived," an adjutant reported, her crest flattening in annoyance. "He demands to address the council in person before sentencing. His arrogance is absurd. Their colony violated territorial law. Their representatives refused to kneel." Sarex dismissed her irritation with a flick of a claw. "They will learn. All species learn. Bring him to the hall." The envoy was escorted moments later, flanked by armed guards. He was unarmored, unarmed, and annoyingly unafraid. Ambassador Elias Cortez moved with the quiet resolve of a man who knew why he was here and accepted it. His wrists were bound, but his eyes radiated indignation instead of fear. Sarex studied him in silence, searching for that spark the human defiance was rumored to possess. "You trespassed in council territory," Sarex said, voice echoing through the chamber. "Keeler Prime is ours. Your colony is illegal. Your government refused relocation. Such disobedience demands consequence. The council has voted. Your species will provide tribute, resources, and restricted access routes. Earth will obey, or Earth will burn." Elias gave a faint, humorless smile. "You assume obedience is in our nature." "It is in everyone's nature," Sarex replied. "Eventually." "You haven't studied us very well," Elias said, tone sharpened but steady. "Humanity bends. It negotiates. It bargains. It even retreats. But it never kneels. We are not your vassals. We are not a herd to be tamed." One of the council generals slammed a fist on the armrest. "Your kind is primitive and reckless. You offer nothing but noise and rebellion." "Then you should have left us alone," Elias replied, eyes narrowing. Sarex leaned closer, more curious than angry. "Your people are cornered. Your colony is ash. The council is united against you. Will you offer us envoy? Final words." "A warning," Elias answered. "We don't start wars, but we finish them." The council chamber erupted in mocking laughter. Sarex's voice cut through it. "Enough. The sentence stands. Earth will submit or suffer. And you, human, your execution will be broadcast to your world as a lesson in obedience." Elias held his gaze without blinking. "All you will teach us is who you really are." Hours later, flames roared in the council plaza as Elias Cortez was tied to the ceremonial pyre. Billions watched the broadcast, his final expression unwavering, eyes still burning with unbroken will. When the fire rose and consumed him, he did not scream. That disturbed Sarex more than he cared to admit. Across the void on Earth, the broadcast spread in minutes, first through intelligence channels, then through civilian networks, then through every screen on every continent. Humanity did not recoil. It ignited. Inside the unified Terran assembly chamber, global leaders sat in stunned, breathless silence as the execution ended. The room crackled with a fury no speechwriter could have produced. Chancellor Amara Solari, once known for her diplomacy, stood as if shedding the last remnants of restraint. "They burned our envoy alive," she said, voice raw but unshaking. "A man who carried no weapon. A man who sought peace. They believe they have crushed us. Instead, they have united us." Some leaders still wavered, haunted by memories of Earth's old divisions. "We cannot match their numbers," Admiral Reese Calder cautioned. "Their fleets could blot out 10 skies. If we rush to war." "We don't rush," Amara cut in. "We remember who we are. We are survivors. Innovators. Fighters when cornered." Elias went unarmed. "We will not." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Calder met her eyes, reading the steel there. He nodded, slowly at first, then with conviction. "Then we don't fight on their terms. We don't match their fleets. We outthink them. We make the galaxy our terrain." "The galaxy is theirs," someone objected. "Only if we accept their map," Calder replied. The argument died. Something old and buried in Earth's spirit awakened in that moment, a unity that once existed only in myth. Humanity did not cheer. It sharpened. Calder stepped forward, dim lights carving shadows across his face. Elias warned them. "Now we honor him, not with outrage, with strategy. Amara drew a slow breath. As of this hour, Earth declares a state of total defense mobilization. No surrender. No retreat. No negotiation under duress. We fight a war we did not choose, but we will choose how it ends. Earth's leaders stood as one. For the first time in centuries, the planet spoke with a single voice. The galaxy would soon learn what that truly meant. While humanity prepared, Sarek's VA Corps stared at the execution recording alone in his darkened quarters. He replayed Elias's final gaze, searching for fear and finding none. It unsettled him, an ember of unease he smothered before it could grow. They are defeated, he reminded himself. They just don't know it yet. But in the silence that followed, doubt lingered at the edges of his mind, whispering a truth he refused to name. War was coming, and somehow, impossibly, Sarex feared the humans might welcome it. Admiral Reese Calder stood at the center of Earth's subterranean war command, surrounded by projection tables that painted ghost blue constellations across the room. Every star, route, and hostile patrol was mapped with obsessive precision. He looked exhausted, but his eyes were bright with purpose. Engineers, tacticians, and intelligence officers filled the chamber, all speaking in controlled urgency. "We cannot meet them ship to ship," Calder said. "So we will not. We don't need to crush them. We need to make their size irrelevant." A strategist frowned. "That empire spans half the known lanes. They'll adapt." Calder zoomed the map, revealing a cluster of glowing red junctions, wormhole gates that connected the empire's territory. They depend on predictable routes, choke points, traffic laws, convoys. His voice hardened. Predictability is vulnerability. We'll strike where their arrogance blinds them. Chancellor Amara Solari watched the exchange from the upper balcony. She carried the grief of Elias's death with a quiet, burning clarity that steadied her words. "We are not fighting for conquest. We target only their war machine. No civilian worlds. No terror. We will be what they pretend to be, civilized. But we will wage war without hesitation." Calder inclined his head in agreement, though his expression showed the strain of a man balancing morality with necessity. "Then we need a spear sharp enough to pierce an empire." A door slid open. A woman strode in, Commander Lyra Danner, leader of the Nyx Division, Earth's most elusive covert unit. Rumors claimed her team could infiltrate orbital fortresses and vanish like smoke. Lyra saluted, her copper-toned face marked by a thin scar across her cheek, a reminder of battles Earth never broadcast. "You called for shadows, Admiral," she said. "Shadows report." Calder gestured her closer. "We'll win this war by manipulation. Hit their supply lines. Blind their sensors. Break their trust in their own systems. You'll lead the opening movements." Lyra's eyes glinted. "Targets. Gate 71 Delta. Minor outpost. Strategically irrelevant to them, critical to us. We strike, disappear, leave confusion instead of corpses. Make them react, not plan." Lyra absorbed the orders with a slow nod. "Understood. Give us 3 days." Amara stepped down from the balcony, studying Lyra with measured intensity. "Commander, understand one thing. Honor is not a decoration for after the war. It is our leash now. No civilian casualties. No uncontrolled sabotage." Lyra's voice remained steady, but something tightened behind it. "With respect, Chancellor, honor has a cost." "And without it," Amara replied softly, "we become them." Lyra accepted the point with a reluctant nod. "We will strike clean." Across the galaxy aboard the VA Actel, Sarek's VA Corps received the first council briefings on Earth's mobilization. His officers reported with amused confidence, but Sarek's no longer shared their ease. The human envoy's final words gnawed at him. He had seen many conquered species, pleading, trembling, resigned. None had warned their conquerors with such certainty. General Taller, broad and blustering, waved the concern away. "Their fleets are scattered toys. Their technology is patchwork. They can posture, but they cannot bite." Sarex folded his hands. "Yet they posture still. And they unify. That alone is unusual." "They are too small to matter," Taller insisted. Small things, Sarex thought, had teeth. He dismissed the general and ordered intelligence feeds on all human communications. If nothing else, he would understand what made them so certain. Night thinly veiled the Pacific skyline as Lyra boarded the infiltration craft with her 6-person team. The vessel hummed to life, designed for silent runs and dark entries. Calder appeared on the comm screen, giving final confirmation. Lyra studied his face for a heartbeat, noting the weight on his shoulders. He carried the burden of every life that would be lost or spared by the decisions he made. "Bring them doubt, Commander," Calder said. "And bring us time," Amara added, stepping into view beside him. Lyra's reply was simple. "For Elias." The craft slipped into orbit and vanished through a microgate jump, a stolen piece of alien technology humanity had spent decades understanding in secret. They were not as unprepared as the galaxy imagined. They had always suspected the day would come when diplomacy would fail. Gate 71 Delta emerged like a lonely lantern in the void, guarded by a single station and 2 patrol ships. Not worth a fleet. Not worth attention. Exactly the kind of place where empires got sloppy. Lyra watched the enemy formations, her heartbeat steady. "Non-lethal first," she ordered. "Hack their sensors. Corrupt their logs. Make their own systems lie to them." Her tech specialist went to work, fingers flying. Injecting false telemetry, spoofing traffic signatures, they're blind. Lyra nodded. "Now we cut the artery." In minutes, her team planted a device on the gate's core, an elegant piece of engineering built to cripple, not destroy. When detonated, it would shut the wormhole network in a cascading freeze protocol. The Empire would assume malfunction, not sabotage. No blame. No war escalation. Just out. Charges set, her specialist confirmed. Trigger. Light rippled across the gate, and the massive structure shuddered before collapsing inward like a dying star, but no explosion followed. No shockwave. Just silence. The patrol ships panicked, broadcasting contradictory reports. The outpost scrambled, confused. No one fired a single shot. Lyra exhaled. "Jump us out." Earth received the success report 12 hours later. Calder allowed the smallest hint of relief to cross his face. 1 gate down. 1,000 to go. Amara, listening beside him, whispered, "Every empire rots from the certainty it cannot be touched." Calder turned to her. "And what of us?" "We don't have the luxury of certainty," she answered. "Only resolve." Far away in his private quarters, Sarek stared at a tactical board that now showed Gate 71 Delta offline. Random malfunction, his engineers claimed. Harmless. Routine. But something in his instincts rebelled. A single failure was chance. A single ember meant nothing. Unless wind followed. He ordered an investigation, though he knew the council would mock him for it. Caution looked like weakness to those who had forgotten fear. Lyra returned to Earth to a brief, private commendation. No ceremonies. No applause. War demanded anonymity. But when Calder dismissed the others, he stopped her at the door. "You hesitated," he said quietly. "Only to honor the rules you set," she replied. "Did it cost us anything?" "No," she answered, though her voice held unspoken calculations of futures and risks. "Then trust the path we chose," Calder told her. "Rage without restraint destroys the hand that wields it." Lyra gave a thin smile. "Then let's keep the blade sharp." As she left, Calder turned to Amara with a darkness in his expression. "They will retaliate. And when they do, our restraint will cost us. You know that." "It might," she said. "But when this story is written, I want humanity to recognize itself in the mirror." Calder looked back at the star map. "Then we prepare for the moment restraint no longer protects us." The room fell silent. Outside, shipyards roared and factories lit the night. Humanity sharpened and waited, knowing the first strike was done, and the second would come from the enemy. And when it did, the true war would begin. The council chamber on Keeler Prime vibrated with indignation as reports of a collapsed gate spread across the delegates' feeds. Voices clashed in a cacophony of accusation and denial. Some bellowed for retribution. Others blamed sabotage. A few muttered the impossible, that humans might be responsible. Sarex sat silent through it all, his gaze fixed on the tactical holomap projected before him. 1 gate failing was a fluke. But the humans' defiance, their envoy's composure, their unbroken unity, none of it aligned with the narrative of a primitive species stumbling into greatness by accident. When the shouting reached its peak, Sarex stood. His voice cut through the uproar like a blade. "We face an enemy that does not fear us. Do not mistake their size for insignificance. They prepare for war." A counselor scoffed. "Against us. Their actions are pinpricks. We can crush Earth in a week." If we had crushed them outright, Sarek replied, we would not be here debating a malfunction. Tala rose in protest. You inflate them. They are a spark, nothing more. And sparks, Sarek answered coldly, burn empires when ignored. The chamber quieted, uncomfortable with the truth. Pride kept them blind, but Sarek could feel the shift beneath the surface, the first tremor before a quake. He requested emergency reconnaissance authorizations. The council begrudgingly approved. They still believed this was beneath them. Sarek did not. Across the void, Earth advanced its quiet insurgency. In an underground training hangar, Lyra Danner watched her newly assembled strike teams run infiltration drills with mechanical precision. Holographic corridors shimmered as operatives sprinted, breached, and vanished in orchestrated silence. Their movements were fast and disciplined, but Lyra's gaze missed nothing. She stalked through the bay, correcting stances, adjusting angles, pushing them harder. You're fighting giants, she told them. Not in strength, but in ego. That is their weakness. We will not overpower them. We will outthink them. Again and again and again. Her second-in-command, Riente, approached between drills. Command wants a larger strike next. A facility raid. Not just sabotage, retrieval. Lyra raised a brow. Retrieval of what? Wormhole gate schematics. If we want to choke their routes on a galactic scale, we need the master architecture, not scraps. Lyra exhaled through her nose. High risk, high reward. If she failed, the war would escalate beyond the Shadow Campaign. If she succeeded, humanity could sever the Empire's arteries at will. Whose order? She asked. Calder's. With Solari's approval. Lyra nodded once, her reservations buried. Then tell command we'll be ready. No mistakes. No noise. Meanwhile, Admiral Calder reviewed rising intelligence from remote observers and encrypted scouts. He and Chancellor Amara stood side by side again, fatigue carving new lines into their features. We're hurting them, Calder said, but we're not slowing them yet. The next move must sting. And it must still be clean, Amara reminded him. No atrocities. No shortcuts. Calder rubbed his temples. One day, that line is going to cost us lives we could have saved with an uglier choice. Then we pay it, she replied. That is who we must be, or we are nothing. Her certainty steadying him, Calder signed the directive authorizing Lyra's next mission. He trusted her. He needed to. Back aboard the Viactel, Sarek observed his fleet mobilizing for retaliatory patrols. He had ordered small but elite contingent to the outer sectors, a hunting formation, subtle and searching. His adjutant lingered nearby. You believe the humans will strike again, she said. Yes, Sarek replied. Because if I were them, I would not stop after one blow. What will you do when you find them? Sarek hesitated. I will end them or understand them, whichever fate they earn. The adjutant lowered her voice. High Marshal, why does this trouble you so deeply? Sarek did not look away from the stars. Because I have never killed an enemy who looked at me without fear. And I do not know what kind of war grows from that soil. Lyra's strike team departed under artificial night, their vessels sliding through a concealed microgate and emerging near a remote research hub orbiting a barren moon. Their targets stored the detailed gate schematics, intellectual treasure that could remake the war. Inside the vessel, Lyra addressed her team with a final briefing. No civilian techs in the target zone. Only military researchers. Disabled, don't slaughter. We take what we came for and vanish before they know to panic. Rian smirked. Just another sleepless night in paradise. Lyra allowed the ghost of a grin. Move. They breached silently, disabling guards with precision shocks and tranquilizers. No alerts. No alarms. In minutes, they reached the core data vault. Lyra accessed the terminal with a stolen encryption key. Lines of alien script streamed across the display, and then success. The schematics were theirs. But as the transfer completed, Rian's voice snapped through comms. Movement. Patrol inbound. They weren't supposed to be here. Hold them off. Non-lethal, Lyra ordered. Rian chuckled bitterly. Your favorite word. The patrol entered. Lyra moved first, striking like lightning. The fight was swift. No casualties, just silent bodies and bruised egos. But the delay cost them seconds, and seconds were blades in missions like this. They exfiltrated and jumped out just as the station alarms flared to life. The Empire would know something had happened, but not who had done it. Not yet. The intel arrived on Earth to a tense command room. Calder scanned recovered schematics, all flickering across his features. This is it. We can map their whole network. We can choose where to choke them next. Amara watched him, sensing his rising momentum. Then pick carefully. Every blow must move us toward an endgame, not endless war. Before Calder could respond, an alert chimed. A new transmission. A council statement, broadcast across multiple networks, angry, wounded, fearful beneath its bluster. Serex's voice delivered it. To the humans who hide in shadows, you are seen. You will be found. You will be broken. If you seek war, then we will show you its depths. Calder muted the feed. Amara met his eyes. Neither spoke for 5 slow seconds. He knows, she said. He suspects, Calder corrected, though doubt brushed the edge of his voice. Amara exhaled. Then the next phase must be decisive. Calder nodded once. No more pinpricks. The time for shadows is ending. And in the silent space between their words, the war changed shape. The stars above Vega burned like cold embers, each one a witness to what was about to happen. Admiral Calder stood alone in the command bay of the Resolute, eyes fixed on the tactical hologram that filled the air before him. Dozens of red clusters, enemy fleets, moved toward Sol. They came fast, angry, and certain. Behind them, the Galactic Council's flagship spearheaded the formation, Serex at its core. They're massing everything they have, said Rian, his voice thin through the comlink. It's a wall, sir. A moving fortress. Calder nodded, his jaw set. They think a wall can stop a storm. Around him, the bridge crew worked in grim silence. Every screen flickered with energy signatures, deployment vectors, probabilities of failure. The numbers didn't look good, but Calder didn't need them to. He had long ago stopped trusting the language of machines. Signal the fleet, he said. We move on my mark. Priority target, the VA Actel. On Earth, Chancellor Amara watched the same storm forming through 100 live feeds. Her advisors muttered about probabilities, contingencies, surrender clauses. She silenced them all with a raised hand. Send the broadcast, she said. Across the fleet, her voice carried through every vessel, every combat channel, every pilot's ear. This is not vengeance. This is the price of what they did to us. We do not fight because we love war. We fight because they burned a man alive for speaking of peace. Remember that when the void burns around you. The message ended. The silence that followed was absolute. Lyra Danner stood in her drop pod bay, helmet under her arm, eyes locked on the holographic outline of her strike zone. Her unit was tasked with breaching Serex's command carrier. It was impossible on paper, but then most things that changed history began as impossible. Rian approached her, fastening his gear. He's not coming back from this, is he? Who? Lyra asked, though she already knew. Calder. She forced a small smile. He'll find a way. He always does. Rian didn't reply. They both knew it was a lie. The battle began not with thunder, but with silence, the eerie stillness before contact. Then light filled the void. Human fleets burst from hidden wormholes, surrounding the enemy in a pattern too precise to be guessed, too ruthless to be chance. Mines detonated behind enemy lines, shredding supply carriers before they could even react. Gate interceptors engaged, reported the tactical officer. They can't retreat. Calder's lips curved in a grim half-smile. Then they'll have to face us. Serex watched the chaos unfold from the VA Actel's observation deck. For the first time, he felt something unfamiliar tightening in his chest. Not anger, not pride, but unease. How are they doing this? One of his subcommanders demanded. They planned for this, Serex said quietly. Every loss they suffered before this day was a lesson. Every strike we dismissed was a test. He turned toward the holographic display. The human fleet moved with terrible precision. No glory, no showmanship, only function. Admiral, his aide began, should we? Fire everything, Serex snapped. Don't let them breathe. The void lit up like a dying sun. Ion beams, rail slugs, plasma bursts, thousands of deaths in every blink. Ships burned, twisted, and vanished. The humans pressed forward through the wreckage, disciplined and cold. Lyra's drop pods launched amid the chaos, cutting through enemy flak with shielded precision. Her pods slammed into the VA Actel's hull. She tore her way through the breach, leading her squad into the corridors. Rian, take right flank. I'll push forward. Find Serex's bridge. Copy. Don't die before me. I'll consider it. On the Resolute, alarms screamed as enemy cruisers locked onto them. Calder watched the targeting arcs converge. He understood what was coming long before the computer did. "Admiral," said his XO, "we can pull back." "No. If we pull back, they'll collapse the line. The fleet needs cover." "Sir, we'll be vaporized." "Then we do it buying them time." He keyed into the fleet-wide channel. "This is Calder. All vessels, cut thrust, divert shields forward. I'll anchor the defense. When I give a word, you jump." There was a pause, thousands of lives waiting for permission to obey. Amara's voice crackled into his private channel. "Calder, you can't hold that position. That's suicide." He smiled faintly. "Chancellor, I was never much for retirement. Don't you dare." He cut the line. The Resolute pivoted into position between the enemy line and the remaining human carriers. Its hull groaned under the weight of energy fire. Deck plating shattered. Bulkheads screamed. "Reactor temperature climbing," reported the engineer. "We'll breach in 60 seconds. Calder stood tall at the center of the bridge. "Divert all remaining power to forward batteries." "But, sir." "That's an order." The weapons fired one last time, cutting through the enemy formation with blinding force. 3 alien cruisers imploded. The VA Actel's shields flickered. Sarix felt the deck lurch beneath his boots. "Who dares?" A transmission cut through the static, human voice, calm and certain. "Sarix of the Council. This is Admiral Calder of Earth. You've seen what we are. You've burned one of ours alive. You mistook restraint for weakness. Let this be your last lesson." Sarix's jaw tightened. "Arrogant creature." He turned to his helmsman. "Target that ship. Erase him." The VA Actel's cannons opened fire. The Resolute burned under the onslaught, its armor peeling away like skin. Calder stood as the world fell apart around him, lights dimming, air burning thin. "Admiral," someone shouted, "we're breaching." "I know," he said softly. "Do it." He reached for the final command, manual detonation of the ship's core. "Lyra," he whispered into the comms, knowing she might not hear him. "Finish this." The Resolute went nova. A wave of white fire consumed the void, collapsing enemy ranks in a blinding wash of energy. The shockwave shredded half the Council fleet. Lyra felt the tremor from within the Viactel. The corridors shook. She stumbled but kept moving, breaking into the command chamber just as the ship's systems failed. Sarix turned to face her. The room stank of ozone and smoke. For a heartbeat, the two locked eyes, predator and survivor. "This is what you are," Sarix said, voice thick with fury. "Destroyers." Lyra leveled her weapon. "No, this is what you made us." She fired. Sarix fell without a sound. Outside, the human fleet regrouped under fractured banners. Amara stood in the war room, staring at the tactical displays as the enemy icons winked out one by one. The silence that followed was heavier than any cheer. "Calder signal?" she asked. Rian's voice came through, broken. "Gone. The Resolute, it's gone." Amara closed her eyes. Then he did it. Lyra's extraction ship drifted through the ruins of the battle, carrying her and what was left of her team. None spoke. Through the viewport, the debris field glittered like a graveyard of stars. She reached for the comms. "This is Commander Danner. Enemy flagship neutralized. Calder's gone. The fleet holds." Her voice broke at the end just slightly. Amara's reply came after a long pause. "Then it's over. Come home." Lyra looked out at the wreckage, her reflection ghosting in the glass. "Home," she repeated softly, as though the word itself hurt to say. In the distance, where the Resolute had died, a single flare of light lingered, bright, defiant, unyielding. It was enough.